All right, let's jump right into this. You know that feeling when you're locked in a really tense negotiation and literally the only thing left to figure out is the final price? The tension is just building, the emails are flying back and forth, and honestly, you just want to get the deal done and over with. But what's actually kind of incredible and a little scary is how much money gets casually thrown away in those final few moments, mostly because people just want to escape the awkwardness. Well, in this explainer, we're diving into a fascinating, highly tactical playbook for handling those intense, price-based disputes, and doing it without leaving a single dollar on the table. It's called the Ackerman Negotiation Framework.
So it's human nature, right? We naturally want to compromise when we're arguing over a price. When someone says 10 and you say 5, pretty much everything in our social conditioning is screaming at us to just meet in the middle at 7.5. I mean, it feels fair, it feels polite, and honestly, it feels like the quickest way to end the discomfort so we can just shake hands. But we're going to explore exactly why that friendly, natural instinct is actually a massive psychological trap that can cost you dearly. Because as you'll see, splitting the difference really just means you're losing the game.
Let's kick things off with Section 1, the price-only fight, and why we need to be avoiding compromise. Here's the thing. When you just meet in the middle and compromise, you're essentially letting the other person dictate the final terms based on wherever they arbitrarily decided to set their starting number. Think about it. Imagine you're negotiating a huge contract for enterprise software, or hey, even just buying a car. If your budget is $50,000 and the seller anchors the conversation by aggressively demanding $80,000, splitting the difference lands you at $65,000? You just overpaid by 15 grand, basically a $15,000 politeness tax. You aren't really negotiating there, you're just folding in half. Strategic hard bargaining, though, that puts you completely in the driver's seat. It takes discipline, you have to completely let go of the need to feel fair in the moment, and most importantly, it requires a rock-solid plan.
Which brings us to Section 2. Enter the Ackerman model, a tactical framework.
So the Ackerman model establishes a really rigid, structured approach so you aren't just winging it and hoping for the best. What's super captivating about this system is looking at exactly why it was designed for those intense, high-stress disputes where, let's face it, logic usually just flies right out the window. Usually when the pressure's on, we panic and just throw out random numbers. But instead, this system uses a highly deliberate four-stage strategy. You're making these carefully planned incremental offers that are designed to steer the conversation almost invisibly exactly to your predetermined price point.
Moving right along to Section 3, the four-step ladder and how to use incremental offers.
Okay, the math here is absolutely fascinating to break down. Before you even walk into the room, you have to set your absolute target price, the final number you actually want to pay. Let's use a nice round number and say your target is exactly $100,000. Well, you don't start anywhere near there. Step 1 is dropping an extreme anchor. You open at just 65% of your goal, so $65,000. Now that might feel painfully, almost embarrassingly low to actually say out loud, but that's the point. It forces a completely new, shocking baseline into the negotiation. From that extreme starting point, you make 3 very specific calculated increases. You go up to 85% of your goal, then 95%, and finally, your 4th step brings you right to your 100% target price.
But the absolutely crucial point here is the mathematics between those steps. Notice how they aren't equal jumps at all. You're offering smaller and smaller bumps as you go. Using our example, you move $20,000 from your anchor, then you drop to just a $10,000 jump, and finally a tiny $5,000 bump right at the finish line. By offering these shrinking increments, you're sending this incredibly powerful unspoken message. You're physically simulating a struggle. You're showing them that every single time you raise your offer, you are scraping the bottom of the barrel and your resources are rapidly and painfully drying up.
Now for Section 4, the non-round final offer, which is the final step.
When you finally hit that target price, you have to use a highly specific, totally non-rounded number. I'm talking about something like $37,893. You don't say $38,000, you don't say $37,500, you use a strange, seemingly calculated number that sounds like it was just spat out by some complex corporate spreadsheet.
So why in the world is that weird number so important? I mean, it feels almost silly, right? Picture sitting in this sleek boardroom, negotiating a massive corporate contract, and you're drawing a hard line in the sand over exactly $93. But that awkwardness, that is entirely the point. Throwing out a strangely precise final offer proves to your opponent that you aren't just holding back. Think about it. If you offer a nice, clean, round number with a bunch of zeros, human nature automatically assumes there's more room to give. A round number sounds like an estimate. It sounds flexible.
But a highly specific, non-rounded number? That sounds like you have done the math down to the literal last penny in your bank account. It tells the other party that your financial flexibility is completely exhausted. You have genuinely reached your absolute limit.
And that perfectly sets up Section 5, calculated psychological pressure and influencing opponents.
When we step back and look at the whole shebang, the full strategic picture really comes into focus. First, the Ackerman model completely bypasses the weakness of simple compromise. That 65% extreme anchor, it shocks the system and firmly sets a brand new baseline heavily in your favor. Then, those shrinking increments force the other side to literally watch you struggle for every single concession. You're making them work for it. And finally, dropping that weird non-round number at the very end absolutely proves you've hit your limit. By combining that initial extreme anchor with the precise final number, you are completely manipulating their perception of your available budget. They walk away feeling like they fought incredibly hard for every single dime, and they fundamentally believe there are 0 dimes left on the table.
Ultimately, this entire stepladder isn't actually about math at all. It is calculated psychological pressure. You're giving your counterpart the emotional satisfaction of squeezing you for concessions, making them feel like total victors in the struggle, all while you are quietly, methodically guiding them exactly to the price you wanted from the very beginning. It's kind of brilliant.
So, the next time you find yourself staring across a boardroom table or just sweating over a tense email thread in a high-stakes negotiation, are you ever going to just split the difference again? Because now, with that extreme anchor and that weirdly specific final offer right in your toolkit, your target price is absolutely yours to protect, one shrinking increment at a time. Thanks so much for joining me to break this all down, and hey, happy negotiating out there.